Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Overcoming Graduation with Brian Drury, a show where I work to teach you everything I wished I had known about life to help you graduate to the next level in your own. And today is another episode of The Morning Commute, where I take my commute to work in the morning to share a short but powerful message with you to help you kick your day off on the right foot. Today's message is this: highway or shovel? So today I was re-listening to one of my favorite interviews of all time, and that is with David Goggins on the Joe Rogan podcast. If you haven't listened to this episode, it's Goggins is Goggins. If you haven't listened to that podcast, it's like 2.5 hours. It is one of the best ways you can spend 2.5 hours if you are struggling with really anything, with mindset, mental toughness, being able to overcome challenges, overcome adversity. This guy takes what seems superhuman, multiplies it by 10, adds a little extra splash of crazy, and that's his day-to-day life. It's really exceptional and wild what this guy does. And it's also, to a point, when I just list off some of his accomplishments, you go, there's something wrong with him. But there's really not. In fact, who he has created has become as a result of mental conditioning, training, and toughness, and then what he says, putting himself through hell. Deliberately for a reason to overcome all the pain, fear, and tragedy that he has faced in his life. So, who is David Goggins? David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL. He's a guy who went to Ranger School. He's a guy who went through Hell Week 3 times. So Hell Week, if you're not familiar, is one of the culminating events in Navy SEAL training. I believe it is at the conclusion. It wraps up. It's kind of like, hey, you survived this and you're basically there. But it is one of the most insane experiences that the human body can be put through. They literally try to destroy you, to make you break. And this is one of the reasons that there's such a ridiculous attrition rate in Navy SEAL schools. So David has failed at so many things over and over, and he uses that as fuel to fight through the pain. He has run multiple 100-mile or 100-mile plus races. The most he ever ran consecutively was 205 miles non-stop. That's without stopping, which is insane. He has run 100-mile races back-to-back. So beyond being an ultra-marathoner, he also is a world record holder. He holds the world record for most pull-ups, period. And I believe the actual record is most pull-ups in 24 hours, because he did over 4,000 pull-ups in 17 hours to break this guy's record, to break the existing record holder's record. And he said he failed twice. And in training to ultimately break the record, he did over 67,000 pull-ups. I'm going to say it again, 67,000 pull-ups. In my workout I just did a little while ago, I did 10 as a part of a circuit I was doing, and 10 feels hard sometimes. And isn't that hilarious when you meet people or introduce yourself to people? Guys, you don't even need to actually meet them to be impacted by people's stories in their lives. That's one of the beautiful things, is you don't need to know David Goggins personally, or Tony Robbins, or Sean Stevenson, or Michael Jordan to be impacted by the way that they live their life. That's what's so powerful about letting your actions and letting the way you live speak for itself. You don't need to go out and showboat and do all these things. Like, if you tell somebody, yeah, I did 4,000 pull-ups yesterday, I mean, you don't need to say anything else. You don't even need to tell people. Like, people hear that and go, what kind of commitment and dedication did it take to get there? And what he said is really interesting, is that people often try to put labels on him and say that he is just a freak, that there's something wrong with him, that he's just got superhuman powers and strength that other people don't, and that's why he's so good, and that's why he's able to do all these things, is that he is just better in some way. He's got more mental toughness, he's got something in his brain that allows him to push through pain. They try to put all these labels on him, and here's what he says about that. He says, everybody wants the 4-lane highway. Everybody wants that smooth paved road, plenty of lanes. You can go cruise at whatever speed you want. Everybody wants that. But he said, what most people do is they step over the shovel. Everybody wants the 4-lane highway, but most people step over the shovel. They don't want to do the work to get there. So rather than look at what they're trying to do, look at the shovel and say, okay, it's go time, it's time to get started. Most people go, nope, not possible. There is no shovel. Oh, if there was a shovel, I'd totally do it. If there was a shovel, I would definitely do it, but there's just no shovel, so there's no way, so there's no point. So I'm just going to stay where I'm comfortable in this mediocrity, whatever that mediocrity is. For you, it might be a sleep schedule. And when I say you, I mean me. Because right now, my sleep schedule has been shit. And that's why I listen to these interviews and I expose myself to this type of content, because there's times where I need the reminder of things I've forgotten about my ability, my strength, my resolve, that it's in me, it's there. But if I don't show it to myself repeatedly, if I don't condition and train myself to see it, if I don't have repeated examples in my life where I can go, I thought I couldn't do it before, or I thought I wasn't able, but look, here's an example of a time I proved that wrong. And here's 10 other examples of a time I proved that wrong. And they may be small or big, but just me being able to say, listen, I know that it's possible. And even if I've never done it before, well, here's the chance for me to show myself that it's possible. Here's the chance for me to say, you know what? Today is going to be different. This moment is going to be different. Because there are plenty of times in my life where I want to pretend the shovel doesn't exist. I want to just act like it's not there and this is just how it is and I can just settle. And sometimes it feels like it's going to feel really good to just settle and eat a bunch of shitty food and have a bad sleep schedule and constantly be tired and not being chasing after our dreams. It seems like it. But then you end up having years pass by. You end up looking back and going, what am I doing? Because people can distract themselves and lie to themselves for a very long time before something wakes up in them. And some people spend their entire life doing it. I don't want that. There's fear that that'll happen. So I constantly push to not have the fear be running the conversation. I also don't want fear to be the main driver. I don't want fear to be the thing that has me pushing to do the things I want to in my life. But sometimes the fear can be a good spark. The fear can be that thing that gets me off my ass at that time when I am just dragging. The fear can be the thing that makes me go, you know what? I'm afraid of falling back into those habits. I'm afraid of turning back into the versions of me that I don't like. The versions of me that haven't helped me serve more people. The versions of me that have had me letting myself down. Like, there is fear there. And that's not everything. It's not running the whole conversation, but it's there, guys. And I think it's there for all of us. So having that awareness, recognizing, hey, yes, there is fear here, but I'm going to face it. I'm going to go towards it. I'm going to prove it wrong. Like I said, I don't want everything in my life to be dictated by fear and by proving things wrong and by showing other people this is how it's going to be. But there are times where that works. That's why I like to have a diverse set of options that I can go to depending on the day. Because some days it's great. It is great to have, hey, it's okay, take a rest. You've earned a break. You've genuinely earned it. You've been pushing hard. Take a step back, have some balance. Having friends go, hey man, it's okay. You've done a lot. Give yourself a break. Get back at it tomorrow. Get back at it in 2 days. Sometimes that's great, but sometimes you need the spark. Sometimes you need the fire. Sometimes you need a little taser on the butt to wake you up and have you go, holy hell, like, man, how far have I drifted? And why have I drifted so far? And much more importantly, what am I going to do about it right now? So for example, this episode, I have recorded probably 3 or 5 episodes that I have recorded for 10, 15 minutes, or even maybe as little as 3, and then deleted. And tried again and deleted. And I've just been like, I'm too tired, I'm not really in the zone, I don't have valuable stuff to share, the message isn't clear, I'm not delivering. It's all my fear and my insecurity popping up. But I also want to make sure that I am bringing value to you guys in that these episodes, when they come out, you hear them, you go, I'm glad I listened to that because I gained something that can help me in my life. So, yeah, there is some truth. Like, hey, I want to put out good content, but on the other side, it's much more just that fear of judgment, that fear of not being good enough, all those other things. So this episode, I even recorded an 18-minute version of this before that I just deleted because I was like, shit, I lost it right at the end. This one I'm not stopping. This one I'm seeing through, because that concept of the shovel and the highway is so, so powerful. And here's the interesting thing, guys. The reason that I take in so much personal development content is it's not just about content. It's not just about getting things in. It's about, I need those messages. I need that support. I need that motivation. I need that clarity. I need that wake-up call. I need somebody to call me on my bullshit, because I can't rely on somebody being with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to do that for me. I have great friends and I have great coaches and mentors and great people in my life that do help with that, but it can't be always. So I've got to be able to find all kinds of different ways to motivate and inspire and push myself to drive through the discomfort, to drive through the uncertainty, to drive through hell in whatever way that is, to be able to bring this stuff to the world. And when David Goggins says he needed to put himself through hell to be able to be the man he is today, guys, sometimes it's mental hell. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 100-mile race or Navy SEAL bud camp, bud training. Sometimes it's just meditating. It's going into your pain and your past. It's doing the work that you know you need to do, but you're afraid to, or you're resisting for one reason or another. It's proving to yourself over and over that those things that you're afraid of don't own you. I've done this in many different ways in my life. I've done it with ice cold showers in the morning. I've done it with meditation. I've done it with physical challenges. I've done all kinds of things. But it's a battle that you need to continue to fight. We often have this idea that we're going to reach a point in life where we've got the money, the cars, the success, the prestige, the great job. It's all great. Physical fitness is on point, so we don't need to continue to push. We don't need to continue to work towards something greater, and then we stop. And this is where you see people get fat. This is where you see people just stop caring. They stop driving. They stop trying to bring value to the world. Like, I want for myself and for all of you listening to have constant drive and motivation to bring value to the world, because you recognize that it's important. You recognize it won't be easy, but most things in life that are worth having aren't going to come easily. They're going to take some struggle. They're going to take overcoming your odds. They're going to take overcoming and facing your demons. But guys, now is the time. Like, if not now, then when? I don't care if you're 75 years old listening to this or 6 years old. It's okay to recognize that we all have things to work on. And it's also important to recognize that you never have to accept where you're at. No matter if you're alive and you're listening to this and you're breathing, there's a chance to make a change. So today, where are you choosing the highway when you need to choose the shovel? Where are you trying to pretend the shovel doesn't even exist, but you know it's there? And what is one small step you could take today to pick that shovel up and dig it into the dirt and lift up that one first pile of dirt? That's all it takes. Sometimes it's just picking up the shovel and getting started that you go, you know what, I actually like the work. I like the feeling of having the sweat pouring down and my muscles are engaged and the blood's flowing through because I'm actually doing the work now. That's where life gets engaging, is when we are actively working towards a better version of ourselves. I want to thank you all for listening today and joining me on another episode of Overcoming Graduation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Stitcher. And if this episode was of value to you, it would be an honor for me if you would share it out with your friends and following, because one of the most important things we can do when we have valuable messages is share them with more people. That's why I'm sharing this about Joe Rogan's podcast and encouraging you to go over there. Because, guys, I don't want you to just listen to my podcast. I want you to listen to other ones. I want you to read other books. I want you to get all kinds of resources, because I get different knowledge and different messages from all kinds of different sources. And sometimes I need to hear it from a certain person, and I can't hear it from the person I normally go to. So re-listening to that podcast today was exactly what I needed. And if this one was valuable for you, I would love if you shared it out with people. It would be an honor and a pleasure. And if you have any questions, if you have any things you want me to talk about on the podcast, anything you're wondering about, anything that you would love to just hear discussed, maybe an interviewee you'd like me to bring on, or if you just want to give some feedback on the show, I'd love to hear from you, and you can contact me at brian@overcominggraduation.com. I love you all. Thank you all for listening to this additional installment of the Morning Commute, and I want you guys to go have a shovel-filled day, because I'm about to myself. Love you guys, and be good. Go pick up that shovel.